Welcome to this podcast, Holistic Creators, where we share our unique and universal stories about shaping the future for the 4 Ps: people, planet, purpose, and profit. My name is Swanette. I'm a mental coach and your host of this show. My intention for this show is to inspire you on your path to a holistic future. So welcome. Hello, and welcome to my podcast, Holistic Creators. My name is Swanette, and I'm your host. Today, my guest is LaMiskey, your self-love sage. So welcome to my show.
Thank you so much, Swanette. So happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for me as well speaking to you today. And I'm curious, can you tell me a little bit about your story, your transformation you have gone through, all your life, or perhaps what was really some kind of pivotal moments that you have been through? Please share a story.
So I am an empath, and I didn't know that for a very, very, very long time. I grew up in a family that did not like the gifts that I had, or at that time, they were burdens, they weren't gifts. Because I didn't understand them, they didn't understand them. So from a very, very young age, I knew that I was different. I knew that I got more information than other people sometimes, but I just thought that that was just how life was. Like that's how my brain works. I don't know how other people's brains work. So my journey has been that of in a way, knowing too much too soon. I was really an old soul as a child, and so therefore I didn't have much of a childhood. I was, of course, very empathic with the people that I loved, so I tended to care for them more than I cared for myself because that was the precedence that was set, whether it was verbally spoken or just that's just how things happen because that's what you see as a child is, mom bending over backwards for everyone else. And so you think that you have to do the same thing. Well, I think that. And so I grew up, things were rough. Being a deep feeler in a household of people that did not seem to really care or have the emotional maturity to lead me emotionally in some way, I had to really face a lot of things on my own. Um, there was abuse in many different ways. There was just not a lot of love, not a lot of kind words, not very supportive. And, but that was just life. That's just what I knew life to be. So I grew up and then I got more into religion. My dad was a preacher. And from there, I recognize spirituality because I'm an old soul, so clearly I'm deeply spiritual, even though I'm not aware of how spiritual I am. I enjoyed the performance. I always think about going to church, Southern Baptist, as a performance. And something about that intrigued me, but I didn't like everything that they were saying. I did not. So I because I'm a young soul. I mean, I'm a young person with an old soul. I started noticing like, okay, I like when they say this, but I don't understand why they have to call me these names every weekend or why do we only have these feelings on the weekend? Why can't we have these feelings every day? Like feeling empowered, feeling motivated, feeling filled up? So I started noticing that my family was we were performative on Sundays, but the rest of the week, none of that stuff mattered. But I was like, okay, but like, didn't they tell us Sunday that we can do anything? We can be anything? But now this is too much. And it was just so confusing to me. But I dare not ask because once I started asking questions, I didn't get any answers. I had to face and figure out all this stuff on my own. I was surrounded by people, but constantly felt like I was alone. And that was like the omen of my life, like is this how it's gonna be? So I grew up later. So I grew up later and realized that using all the tools that I received during childhood or the tools that I did not receive during childhood was shaping my relationships. So I started dating men who, displayed narcissistic, controlling traits. I don't know it in these terms at the time, of course, but moving forward, I realized, okay, I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to be spoken to this way. Like, I grew up being spoken to this way. It's normal, but I don't want this normal anymore, you know? So I started trying to find my way. I ran into the movie The Secret, I think in my late teens or early 20s. I started exploring spirituality. I started exploring different religions. I identified as Sunni Muslim for a small bit when I was dating someone that was Muslim. And I think on the outside looking in, it looked like I was easily swayed, but I was just really curious. I was just really, really curious about this religion thing. And if my religion is the only way to God, how are all these other religions surviving? Where are all these other people going when they die? Because they're not my religion, you know? So I had to really like search, and being the truth seeker that I am, I started reading, I started researching, but more than anything, I started finding a support system and I started healing. I remember, of course, Amazon has been a big part of my life, right? All the books and Kindle books and all that stuff and Audible now. So I read hundreds of books and I realized you're not crazy. The place you grew up was not the best. And you can be mad at these people, or you can use that energy and focus on healing yourself. And that's really what I've been focused on for like the last 10, 15 years. Um, and it doesn't take 10 or 15 years, but healing is a process. Healing is a journey. And I have bottomed out. I've hit rock bottom emotionally. I've hit rock bottom financially. I've had to pull myself out of dire straits without a true emotional support system outside of myself. So then I had to learn how to become emotionally supportive to myself and not that negative voice in my head that was always outside of my head because it was my family members, right? But then I had to learn how to speak to myself in a way that got results. Because if you keep doing it, you don't get any results, then what are what are you still doing it for? So I had to learn from the bottom up. I say I had to essentially re-raise myself because I was still that little child that just wanted love. I just wanted to be heard. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be loved for who I was, which I never really got in my family of origin. Now we'll say I love you to each other, but love is a verb in every minute of your life, in every minute of your day. Love is a verb. So through all of the things that I went through, I developed a very strong core value system for myself and how I want to operate in this world. And I'm still on that healing journey now. I'm still discovering parts of myself that need attention and parts of myself that I want to be better. So I'm still on that journey.
Wow, what a powerful story. And I can imagine like feeling the opposite. On the one hand, you are such an empath and you feel love and you can give love. And on the other hand, there is like this kind of rejection or not noticing. Um, on the one hand, I think this is also part of the journey, because if you have been in a different family, perhaps you would never be able to go so deep for yourself because there would have not been any necessity for that. But being in such an environment, you really had to focus on yourself and finding a way to support yourself emotionally. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I did. I definitely identified that I chose a karmic family this time around. And I know people's hearing, oh, you chose your family. I truly believe it. I truly believe that before we get here, we sit down at a proverbial round table with all of these souls that are not in bodies, because this is just a vehicle that we're in right now. I happen to be black this lifetime. I happen to be a woman, but we sit down with these souls that are going to surround us, and we make a deal. We make a deal and say, okay, I love you, but because I love you, I'm probably going to treat you like shit this lifetime. So I fully accept that I was born into a karmic family. These people are not bad people, but they are my teachers. But you don't have to stay in school the rest of your life. You learn the lesson and then you move on. And that's the part that I want to help other people understand as well, because the people that say that they love us, they get a very tender place inside of us if we, give that to them. In most chances we do if we say that we love them, especially if you're empathic. But those same people, they need to be monitored. They need to be held accountable for how they treat you under the guise of love. And not that, like I said, I mean, people do bad things, don't get me wrong. People have done very, very shameful, hurtful, illegal things to me. you know? But they're playing their role. They will be, punished in their own way karmically. It's not my responsibility to get revenge. But yes, I was born into a karmic family. I had a lot of lessons I had to learn, and I'm still learning them.
Hmm. So you said you feel that you are an old soul. This means like having a lot of lifetimes before and having experiences as well from other lifetimes. Do you see that this lifetime is kind of the next level of your learning, or like you are evolving your soul or something like that?
I do. I really, really do. So, like you said earlier, the idea that if I was not born into the family that I was born into, I would not have had a necessity to go quite as deep. The depth at which I have been able to go to understand myself has been phenomenal. It has created a peace inside of me that you can only get by evolving. So this lifetime, this time around, I definitely feel that I am taking on the challenges. I am learning from the lessons that all of these wonderful people around me that treat me horrible are teaching me. I'm learning about myself too, because I wasn't always the person that treated people great either. And I wanted to change that though. So I feel like this lifetime, I'm definitely evolving. And I can get way deeper into some more astrological things that are going on in my chart. But yeah, this is going to be a big life for me. This is a big life for me already.
Hmm. What are tools you used for yourself? Or you said that you read a lot of books. So what have you done for your own healing journey until now already?
So it started with finding a spiritual teacher, a spiritual healer, and I feel that it was just guidance. It was just guidance from spirit, right? So I would always find some people to support me, and they weren't always kind-spirited. I found some more people that taught me hard lessons, of course, but I started learning about my energy centers. I started learning about how our life is in this invisible book in the Akashic. I started learning about understanding my body on a spiritual level, because my biggest gift is feeling. I mean, as an empath, we all have different, major gifts that affect us differently. But learning that I was an empath, learning that I'm a highly sensitive person and accepting that was one of the biggest things, was just accepting that yes, you're wired a bit differently, but nothing's wrong with you. And even if something is wrong with you, because I've suffered from depression and anxiety and all those things, but learning who I really was at my core. And that started with learning about my energy centers, the chakras, and then I moved into becoming a healer shortly after that, which I'm not sure if people are aware, but when energy healers provide healing to you, we're healing ourselves as well. So it became important for me to help others heal once I got to a point where I could manage my emotions and I could manage my thoughts and I could manage my energy, because I have a lot of energy. Um, to start giving back and helping other people because I needed to understand what other people were going through as well, because I was just so much in a vacuum of my own troubles and issues, you know? So I started to become a healer. I started learning Reiki healing energy. I've learned other healing modalities after that that I use on myself. What else do I do? Of course, I meditate. I have an ever evolving self-care routine that I need more help implementing sometimes because life gets busy and we sometimes want to neglect ourselves. But yeah, I mean, I got into candle magic lately, which is just, manifesting rituals. But yeah, I got more in touch with myself. I realized the basis of all relationships is the relationship that we have with ourselves. And when I raged out or screamed at or was mean to people, that was because I was going through something. It wasn't really about them, but it was about the fact that I was going through something and they triggered something in me. So I would use those moments instead of, now I would feel shame and guilt, but I don't like laying there for a long time. I want to figure out what happened, what was triggered, and how do we get through it next time. So accepting myself on a deep level was a big part of my healing journey as well. Accepting that I'm not perfect, accepting that I don't always understand all the energy that I'm feeling. Is this my energy? Is it their energy? Are they nervous? Am I nervous? It was just so many things. And like I said, I'm still figuring all that stuff out. So those are some of the tools. Oh, and crystals. Crystals within the last 3 or 4 years have been very helpful to me. I find that there are so many helpful tools in spirituality. And sometimes, I mean, there was years ago when I'd look at crystals and I had no interest. And then just a few years ago, it's like, oh, I need a rose quartz. I need an amethyst, you know? And you start to just have a different appreciation for different things on the different levels of your healing journey.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely hear you. So this is kind of my own journey as well. I'm also an empath, but I'm not the one that is really feeling so much, but I'm clairvoyant and precognitive, so I'm getting information beyond that normal people don't get. So for me, it was also as a child, like, no, why can't they see that? Why can't they know that? And now you said you're feeling that. How is it in your body? Like, do you get sensations, or how is it when you go into the energy field of someone else? How is it in your body?
So when I don't protect my energy, um, it comes through mainly in my torso. So around my heart space and my stomach, usually I feel it, whether it's a butterfly feeling or like a low grade vibration feeling or a heaviness on my chest. When I did soul work, soul rescue work with a team of other spiritual women, I would be like the antenna for the room. Like they could see, they could speak, they could do other things, but I was the one that let them know, okay, a spirit is here now because my body just picks up on that subtle energy shift when, a non-human being is in the room. So for me, it's a deep, deep knowingness and feeling. And yeah, so I feel it. I feel things all over. Like for instance, if we were doing soul rescue on a pilot, I would get lightheaded to talk about the atmospheric changes as they're going straight toward the ozone layer. Um, if someone was at a car accident, I might get pain on my side. I might, so those type of things is how it works for me. But usually I'm not dealing with that type of soul work anymore. The work that I do now is when I speak with clients, I can feel what they're feeling and I can know answers to questions, or I can know the exact right question to ask at that right moment.
So where do these questions come from? It is a kind of you're channeling them, or is it instant knowledge? How does it
We're
work?
a little frozen right now.
Yeah, but I can see you,
Okay, I can
hear
see
you.
you now. If you asked the question, I didn't hear you because things froze.
Yeah, I'm asking the question again. You said that on the one hand, you're feeling that, but also you can ask the correct questions or know the questions to ask. And is it something that you are channeling them, or is it kind of instant knowledge? How do you get this kind of question or insights?
It's instant knowledge for me. It's claircognizance, which is just a knowingness. And I used to doubt it for years. I was like, no, that's not, I didn't know that. I didn't think of that, you know? But I realized that I'm much better live with people instead of someone typing a question and me responding to the question because there's so many places that my mind can go. But if I talk with you, I'll know what you need to hear in that moment. So I don't go all over the place giving all 15,000 different possibilities. So yeah, for me, it's claircognizance is just a knowingness, which is a very strong intuition, I believe, and sometimes it can't be proven. And that's the hard part. You can't prove your intuition. You just know what you know, and you don't know why you know it, you don't know how you know it, but you just know what you know. And so that has been a journey in itself for me. It's just understanding and trusting myself in that way.
I totally get that. So for me at the beginning, it was kind of the same, like I'm getting pictures and this instant knowledge. And I thought either I go crazy and I can call these guys with the tight white jackets, or I really have to figure out what is going on here, because it was clear that these were not my own thoughts or no, like my own feelings. It came from somewhere else, and like figuring out what is it now? So do you have the same like at the beginning? No, is this mine or is it from someone else? And where does it come from? Especially if you have connection to other souls that are not incarnated at this moment. Can you go a little bit deeper into that? I'm curious.
So I would get downloads, which I think is like a form of channeling or something. And oddly enough, I get them the most when I'm washing the dishes, which is what I hate doing. So, um, I sometimes have issues. I have in the past understanding what was mine and what wasn't. And as I mature in age on earth, I've started to really understand the sensations in my body much more and command them much more as well. I think sometimes as an empath, we can feel like we're not. I know for a lot of my life, I felt like I was like 5 drops away from pouring over. Just I'm just full. I'm just so much energy, so much stimulation, so much information that I'm getting on a daily basis. And if one person just says the wrong thing, I'm just gonna pop. Like I'm just feeling too many things right now. And so I knew that I had to work on that. I knew that I had to work on that. And so what I've done to really realize whether energy is mine or not is, for one, protecting my energy, and then in that moment remembering, okay, did you protect your energy today? Because it's a big deal. And then from there, I ask myself certain questions, and they're different questions depending upon what I'm doing. Um, and then from there, I get my answer. So for instance, if I'm going out or, meeting a new person, whether it's for my podcast or if I'm going on a date or something, what I learned a few years ago when I don't protect my energy, I definitely feel the other person's emotions of the person that I'm going to meet. Okay, it froze a little bit, so I'll just restate that. I definitely feel other people's emotions, the person that I'm going to meet. So in some way, in the ether, I connect with them on an energetic level, and I can tell whether or not the guy that I'm about to meet is nervous. I can tell whether or not he's feeling confident. And it used to be like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. But like, what am I nervous for? Because I'm not, usually I have anxiety, but I'm not nervous. And I think there's a nuance to that that's a little different, where I don't have the insecurity of, oh my gosh, is this going to go well? Like, I'm accepting that this may go well, this may go horrible, but I'm not nervous about it, you know? But when I feel that other person's energy, for a while I thought it was me being nervous. But then I started to realize once I got to that meeting that and when I saw their body language and I saw how they interacted with me, and I'm, much closer energetically, I realized, oh, they were the one that was nervous. So it's still a journey. It's still a journey of figuring out what's mine and what's someone else's. Because sometimes I get downloads, drop-in statements. I just get phrases. So I don't get pictures. But I do have a story about when I did visually see something. But I get phrases. I get, information when I'm working with people. And then I get that deep feeling in my torso between my heart and my solar plexus chakra. So I just have to ask myself the right questions. And that was a journey to learn what questions did I need to ask in that moment so I can get that clarity and either pull it out, release it, or accept it and process it and then move it through. So it just depends.
Yeah. So same for me. When I go out and I don't have my protection around me, it happens that I sit at a table and people show up, sit down, even though I don't know them, and telling me things. And it's like I'm kind of a magnet. And people feel that they know I'm there and I'm holding the space for them and, yeah, feeling them, of course, also. And they use this for coming in contact with me even when I'm only out for a drink. And this happens again and again. And for me, this is a clear sign, oh, forgot to protect myself. Like, I'm out with the energy and everybody is feeling that and feeling so comfortable. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So let me also know, you just said you had one moment where you also got pictures. What is about this story?
Okay, so this was around the time a few years ago when I was working with my soul sisters, I call them. We were doing spiritual rescue. And so spiritual rescue is basically when we die, when we leave our physical body, sometimes people leave their body, but they don't leave Earth. And that can be, manifested in hauntings, or it can be manifested in just people that tug on people's energy, people like me who can feel that and know that I can help them. So what would happen when I did this soul work, this soul rescue work, is I would be at my day job in my cubicle and I would just get this soul that would just like tap on my shoulder, kind of, like essentially. But I would know that there was someone with me. And they would usually come on the day that I did soul work, which is usually Wednesday evenings. So at that soul work, we had a spirit team. And our spirit team was the same set of beings every time. We called them in. And the other ladies could see them, but I could only feel them. And they would describe one member of our spirit team. He was a very tall, slender man who wore slacks, a button up, a tie, and a sweater, right? And so I had that visual, but I never saw him because I'm not a seer in that way. Well, I was traveling one night, a long drive, coming back from Louisiana, coming back here to Texas, driving, and I was so tired. Oh my, I could not keep my eyes open. I had the windows down, I had the music up, I had the AC blowing cold. I could not stay awake. And there was a split second where I actually fell asleep behind the wheel at a high speed in a dark area that did not have, like city lighting and all that stuff. It was just one of those stretches that really stress your eyes out. It's really dark, but then you've got headlights coming. So my eyes were tired, my body was tired, and I closed my eyes for a split second. In comes the person from my spirit team, the tall guy with the sweater on. He walks across the highway that I'm driving on. Just, not technically like a deer would walk across, right? But he appears to me in a way that I don't see things, right? So he does that, and I'm like, okay, I'm up. It was so amazing that he crossed the veil for me in that moment of need, to show himself because he knew that I would have a strong reaction to seeing because that's just how I am. And he didn't look at me. He didn't try to scare me, but it was more of him walking and looking over his shoulder at me, like my car was coming toward him. He knew what, I'm human, I'm empathic, I don't want to hit anybody. Um, and so he did, it was a split second. Oh, I wish I could have taken a picture. It was so vivid. So I can't imagine having gifts like you where you see these things all the time. I'm over here just feeling them, having to sort through it. But in that moment, he crossed the veil for me. He showed up for me and I saw him and I said, okay, get it together. I got through that little stretch and then I took a break at the rest station, which I never take breaks, right? I'm like, give me some black coffee and I'll push through, But I never take breaks. I love driving, but I was just so dog tired that night. And so he showed himself to me because I really needed it in that moment.
Wow, this is so amazing. I can only imagine if it is no for you like in such a situation and you see this guy and you know, okay, now this is one of the spirit helpers that normally are in the sessions and now he's passing by and yeah, is helping you not to not bring you in trouble by falling asleep while driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we already get to know that you have so many gifts and you're using it for your work as well. So what kind of people are coming normally to you and with what kind of topics? So whom are you helping?
So, how do I say? I've worked with a large majority of different types of people. It's actually very interesting. I'll get the not so spiritual person who just wants to learn how to manifest their dream job, which I had a client a few years ago who she had trouble accepting who she was. She had a technical undergrad degree and then she had an arts master's degree. And she thought that she had made a mistake. She thought that, this can't work together. How am I going to find a job? And I just told her like, no, there's beauty in having, essentially left side brain, right side brain. And a lot of people don't have both. Some people are just artistic. Some people are just left brain, gotta have the right answer, gotta be, that type of left brain, super organized, very masculine energy, And so I helped her through the fact that, help her understand that having both is a benefit. It's not an issue. What I find is I find other business owners or entrepreneurs that are spiritual that need help pushing through a stuck moment. Um, I've worked with male CEOs from Sri Lanka. There was a guy who needed support in just managing his energy because his job was just so demanding. And I don't think he really realized that he was, taking in as much energy as he was taking in. So we talked about managing his time differently. I've worked with, there was a woman who was an entrepreneur, but she was having issues with her relationship. And I was able to, in that moment, be able to speak with her and get her through a breakthrough. So it's very different, but everyone is similar in that they're feeling a little stuck and they just need another pair of eyes or more or a third eye to see their situation in a different way to help them kind of reframe it and keep moving forward. So it's not so much the type of people, I guess, but it's more so the type of issues that they're dealing with that they feel drawn to me. And so it has been a journey and I look forward to helping people more in different in deeper ways, But it has been a large variety of people that I've worked with. Most importantly, though, they were business owners because I think as business owners, we push for a level of performance that the average person doesn't. There's nothing wrong or nothing better or worse about it. It's just that we're seeking more answers on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely. How do people feel when they come to you and you use these special gifts? do you tell them before that the way you are working, or is it more like a kind of surprise or like an experiment or adventure when they are during in your sessions?
So I really don't tell people because I don't think people really care. I think people just want help. I think they want to talk to someone who actually listens and who can, solve their problem or point them in the right direction to solve their problem. But I've learned that when I try to explain to people those things, especially at a time when I didn't even really understand the things that I had, excuse me, even at the time when I didn't understand the gifts that I had and what they really meant, I couldn't explain it, but I knew that if I spoke to you, I could help you. And so I think that is probably the same for a lot of helpers out here. We know that we can, if we talk to you, we can help you. So I've had to kind of work backwards on that and really figure out, the right marketing copy and all those things to articulate those points. But no, I don't expound on all the tools in my tool belt because I don't think people care. Like, you hire a contractor, he's not going to say, well, I've got the so-and-so vacuum and I've got the so-and-so hammer. Like, I don't care. Just come get it done and make it look like your other pictures?
Yeah, what I see is attracting different kind of clients. So when we are in our own development, very far from kind of mainstream, often we attract people that also look for their own mastery and not the beginners. So I see in my business, I don't have a lot of contact with beginners that are at the starting point of their own business or own personal development. They are more the ones that are really wanting to look beyond and go deeper because they have done the basic work already. What is with your clients?
So because I'm a very spiritual person. Like, spirituality is infused in every part of my being. But I'm also still a very like normal real person. Not saying that anyone else isn't, but I've just found this about myself. So I end up attracting people who are spiritual, but they may be considered more beginner. And it's my hope that when I work with these people that I can get them from the beginner stage to the more advanced stage. And I think that that's important for me because I I attract those people because those people are drawn to me, right? And so there's something that I have the ability to either communicate on a basic level, those beginner things, or just the ability to really remember, really, really remember when I was a beginner, because being an empath and a deep feeler, I can just remember a scenario and put myself energetically back in that place. And then I can speak from that place to that person. And they're like, whoa, you read my mind. How did you know that? So I don't really know if it's a beginner thing or not. I think it's just the way that I communicate with people. It helps me get them to open up because I mean we're in paths, so we're gonna automatically in most cases get people to open up even when we don't want to, when we're out trying to have a drink. Oh, so many stories about that. But I really feel that I don't know, I never looked at it that way if they were beginners or not. It was just people that resonated with me, that were drawn to my energy, that they knew that I could help. And if I can't help someone, I tell them like I need you to go find this person or go get this type of work done. But usually I find because what I needed the most when I was younger was someone to speak to me and speak life into me. A lot of my clients need that. They need someone that truly sees them and can speak life into them in a way that they can remember because it's the way that I deliver it. But then also all the energy work and all that good stuff kind of happens behind the scenes and it's not the focal point of our work. Our work is to really deeply connect to that person and get them to see the brilliance that's on the inside that we most times overlook, especially if you were raised the way I was raised. You're not taught to focus on your good points. You're taught to fit in, do what everybody else does, and who do you think you are? You know? But that's the opposite of of how I am and and how I coach and how I teach. So it depends. It's usually an entrepreneur, someone that does want to go deep, but they don't have to be a beginner. They don't have to be advanced. It's just they have to be ready to have real practical, maybe sometimes a little tough. I'm not big on tough love. I gotta be mean to you because I grew up like that. This shit didn't help, you know? But it's more like I'm going to be real with you. So if you want someone that's going to connect with you and be real with you and sit there in that realness with you, then that's who I am. So, yeah.
So you don't work in Germany, we would say like in cotton packed, like no smooth, and so you also work like being very straight and telling people what is going on, what you see. Or how do I understand that? Yeah.
Yes, for sure. For instance, I was working with a woman and we were connected on social media, which I learned not to do. It's too much, but it does give me a great peek into who you are when I can have access to your social media, just a glance. I don't need to look at you every day. But she had a habit of wanting things, but then not believing she could get them. And when I was able to point it out in the way that she treated herself, the way that she spoke to herself, the things that she posted on Facebook, I said, look, you're not in alignment, you know? You have to be in alignment. If you're going to use my time, because I'm super anal about my time, as we all should be, but if you're going to use my time and my expertise and ask me questions and want support from me, you've got to support yourself. And supporting yourself means being kind to yourself and speaking life into yourself. You don't get to go on Facebook and, I know that there is joy and connection and being vulnerable, but there's a way to do it that's still empowering. And she just wasn't doing it in an empowering way. So I had to kind of get with her and say, look, you've got to correct this energy because you're saying one thing, but you're doing something else. And, we have to be cognizant of ourselves on every level. I'm not being mean to you. I'm being clear with you that there needs to be some alignment in the way that you speak to yourself. Because when you're with me, we're doing feel good things, but when you're by yourself, that's where the true work is done. So yeah, I'm pretty straightforward and upfront.
Yeah, wonderful. So also what I see is that we are not the one that are giving the pill and everything is fixed, but we are holding the space and leading through the process, but the coachee needs to do the work as well. And I think this is also giving the responsibility to the one who's doing the work and what you said, holding someone accountable or following up with, oh, see, being the mirror. I think these are all pieces that needs to be, be in mind if we start working with someone.
For sure, for sure. And that client needs to understand that when you get ready to go deep, it's not always going to be pretty. And it's okay because that's the reason that we're going deep is to get that part out or get that part exposed to the light so that we can work on that. We can heal that. We can move that energy. So, yeah, I think that's the benefit of working with more advanced spiritual people is they understand that depth and they're ready for that depth. But everyone isn't always there. And I'm not the coach for everyone and everyone's not the coach for me. So that part's okay too.
Mm. Do you have a certain kind of process you're going through, or is it really that you sit with a person and then the work you're doing is kind of tailor-made?
Things are tailor-made with me. Every person is at a different stage in their journey. Every person needs more of something and maybe less of something else. If you're really frazzled emotionally, you probably need more meditation and self-care and not bombarding yourself with Abraham Hicks videos because her stuff goes deep and her stuff it's a shift. And if you're not ready, if you're not on solid ground right now, that shift is not going to happen. So you're just stressing yourself. I remember sometimes those videos would stress me out because they would be so profound, but I just wasn't ready for them, you know?
You're frozen again.
In a little bit, so I'll pause. Okay, there we go. So yes, I have a set of, go-to exercises and tools and strategies, but that box of tools is really big and everybody doesn't need or nor have the time for all of those tools. So everything is tailor-made with me. Every close one-on-one VIP client that I have, it's going to be a tailor-made process. There is structure, but we allow the flow as well.
Hmm. So when people are now interested to work with you, are you working in person or online? Where can they find you?
So now that we are in this phase of the pandemic, which should hopefully is the end of it, right? I'm looking forward to doing some in-person VIP days and also working online and remotely with clients as well. So it could be a combination or it could just be one or the other. But I definitely am all about true connection, deep connection with the client and working through them, through them and their energy for sure, but making sure they're not overwhelmed, but try to get as much work done as we can while we're working together, but of course safely and in a way that you can handle your everyday life as well, because energy work is true work.
Yeah, so how can people now can come in contact with you? Do you have a website or something like a Facebook page or no, a telephone number? How can people reach out to you if they are not able
Sure.
to do it telepathically?
I don't take calls telepathically anymore. So you can find me, LaMiskey Love, on Facebook and Instagram, as well as LaMiskey.com, my first name. And I have a podcast, Rehab My Soul. You can find me on rehabmysoul.com as well.
Wow. I will put all the links in the show notes so that it is easy for everybody who is now listening to come in contact with you and yeah, get more inspiration on your podcast or come to you and get a session with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
So last but not least, do you have any tips that you want to share at the end of this interview?
Yes, I have come to realize my work here is all about sovereignty, spiritual sovereignty. And that is more enhanced because of the way that I grew up, the way that I needed to really create myself because I didn't have that support outside of me. So understanding that the things that happen to us are not our fault, but they are our responsibility to heal them if we want to take our life to that next level and really reach our full potential in love and wealth and health in all areas. It is our responsibility to go to those parts of ourselves that are not that easy to deal with and to deal with those things because there's freedom. What you get from that is pure freedom. You may feel bad for a while. You may feel those negative or lower vibration emotions. But once you can push through that, there's true freedom in being completely sovereign on a spiritual level and understanding that anything here on earth is here for you if you're willing to do the work, not just the physical masculine work, but if you're willing to do the energetic and emotional work to get to that point.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing your wisdom, and being my guest on the show today. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
See you soon. Bye bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening or watching my podcast, Holistic Creators. If you want to know more about how I can help and support you, have a look at my website, spiritualchangemaker.com. You can also join my Facebook group, Spiritual Changemakers Community. Stay tuned for the next episode by subscribing to this channel. And you also can check the previous episodes.